Deepa.
Deepa, good morning.
Good morning, Bhante.
This is
This is Chatteri.
okay.
Good morning, Hamudruani.
Good morning. Who is that? Chandra? Veronica?
Hi, Hamudruani.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Veronica, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, Bhante.
Yeah. When are you coming?
Probably at the end of the month, like after the weekend of Memorial Day weekend, and then the following week. I'm planning on taking a week vacation,
Okay, good.
so overlapping the end of May and the beginning of June.
Okay.
Bhante, will there be a Vesak this year?
Yes, we are planning it to have on the 15th of
Good
May.
morning, Bhante.
Everyone Saranai Bhante.
Everyone Saranai. Cool.
Morning, Bhante.
Good morning. Sharon. Yes, Shirley. Lee. Okay. Okay, are you ready? Now let us begin with our metta recital. Okay. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desire for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. Let us begin our practice with this metta thought in mind. We put, as we repeatedly mention, we focus our mind on this very present moment happening, that is the breath going in and out through our nostrils, and we exclusively pay attention to that breath without using any words or concepts, and let it naturally happen, and notice the breath touching our nostrils, reaching our lungs and expanding lungs area, and the lower abdomen. As we breathe out, lower abdomen contracts, chest area contracts, breath leaves our nostrils. These functions are very natural, almost automatically taking place. As we do this, since there are no words, concept, mind, the breath and the body are gradually relaxing. When they relax, no greed, craving for anything can arise in the mind, because anytime desire arises, mind gets agitated. So when the mind is calm, greed does not arise, it fades away. As greed fades away, mind becomes even more calm, relaxed and peaceful. Along with that, our breath, the body become calm, relaxed and peaceful. In that very wholesome, relaxed state of mind, we experience the feeling of loving friendliness without thinking of any one particular being, particular person. We just feel that there are breathing, living beings in the world. We mention some categories in our metta recitals. Even that verbalized category will vanish from our mind, but metta feeling remains in our mind. With that feeling, resentment, anger also naturally fades away. When this happens, the breath is relaxed, the body relaxed, mind relaxed, metta arises. All these are calming, soothing states. When everything is calm, soothing, comfortable, most of the time we fall asleep. And we try to avoid it because sleepiness is a hindrance for our development of meditation. And therefore we want to get rid of that sleepiness. In order to get rid of our sleepiness, we have to arouse our energy. Energy has to be used very carefully, mindfully. Energy we have to arouse in order to overcome sleepiness, thinking that this is a very precious moment and this is not the moment for us to sleep, which we can do any time, but this precious moment doesn't come so often. When it came, we must make the best use of this precious moment, thinking that we have to let go of our sleepiness and energize the body, build up the courage and momentum to develop our practice. And then when that happens, agitation and excitement can arise. When sleepiness is overcome using energy, agitation or excitement, sort of hypertension can arise. This is not something physical. This also is a mental state. And that has to be overcome, thinking of this precious moment should not be wasted by letting it agitate or excite. For this reason, from the very beginning, we recommend people not to use words. When we use words, the mind gets agitated, stimulated. When the mind gets stimulated, more and more thought and words can arise, and then that may make our mind restless. So once we overcome that, what is left in the series of hindrances is doubt. One might think, after all, with all these things, what may I achieve? What can I achieve? So you can overcome that doubt thinking of the most wonderful attainment that the Buddha has attained, his disciples have attained, and also think of the steps that you have already followed. You recited metta, and you overcame greed, overcame hatred, overcame sleepiness and drowsiness, restlessness and worry. This gives you confidence that you can do it. Nobody can do all these things for you. You can do it. When you see it, you get more courage, trust, faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, plus your own practice. You build up your confidence that you can do it. Friends, without full confidence in yourself, no matter how much confidence you have in others, you cannot attain the goal, reach the goal. Therefore, you must have confidence within yourself, thinking that you, just like anybody else, can do this very successfully. With this, when you come to this level, then you will have a clear mind, very pure state of mind, impartial, equanimous state of mind, as I mentioned yesterday. With that state of mind, all you will see is rising and falling your breath, feeling, thoughts, perceptions, consciousness, ideas, they all arise and pass away. Friends, when we say passing away, we don't talk about passing away of something that exists. We talk about the passing away of something that arises to pass away. There must be something there to pass away. There is nothing static or fixed, but things arise and pass away, arising and pass away. Whatever arises is subject to passing away. This is what the gist of dependent origination. Whatever arises, that passes away. With this experience, you will gain deeper insight into your life, into the Dhamma, into the truth, and that gives you more powerful mental state to stay calm, relaxed and peaceful. Now let us do this in silence. By means of this meritorious deed, may I never join with the foolish. May I join always with the wise until the time I attain Nibbana. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. From the highest realm of existence to the lowest, may all beings risen in these realms, with form and without form, with perception and without perception, be released from all suffering and attain to perfect peace. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, friends, my friend Asha is here with me. You can ask me questions. If you write on the chat box, he will read them for me. When you ask questions, if they are not clear to me, I ask him to repeat the question. Now, you ask me questions.
And if you would like to ask a question directly over Zoom, you can feel free to raise your hand with the Zoom feature, and I'll ask you to unmute.
Do you hear us? We end this or what?
Oh, we're on you.
Can hear you fine, Bhante.
Oh, okay. Is it Prashant? Yes. Any question? Okay.
All right. Is Sankara and Vijnana in the five aggregates, are they the same as the Sankaras? Is the food for Vijnana independent origination?
I think that's a good question. Sankara and Vijnana. Sankara in the five aggregates and Sankara in dependent origination are similar, but Sankara in the five aggregates includes all conditioned things, and especially Sankara in dependent origination refers to the mental states. However, Sankara in general, whether it is in the five aggregates or in the dependent origination, means all conditioned things. But dependent origination Sankara refers to our volitional formations. It is very clearly has been translated even into English as depending on ignorance, volitional formations arises. It is the volitional formations that causes all other problems. But when we use the word Sankara in general, that includes everything and anything that exists, that came to existence through causes and conditions. And therefore it is very difficult to separate Sankara from a general meaning for people to understand. Especially in the five aggregates also, the sankhara is used for the volitional formations. So in that, both independent origination and the five aggregates, sankhara has definite relationship. Both of them have a same meaning. At the same time, sankhara in general is used for all existing things, from the largest to the smallest physical and mental things. Therefore it is not easy to make the distinction, and one has to understand it according to the context. When we use five aggregate, for instance, we call form rupa, and rupa also sankhara. In the widest sense of the term sankhara, even the rupa is sankhara. That means forms are sankharas. Therefore, that is difficult part. Vijnana also has a wider meaning and narrow meaning. Narrow meaning is Chakku Vijnana, Sota Vijnana, Gana Vijnana, Jivha Vijnana, Kaya Vijnana, Mano Vijnana, etc. Consciousness as it arises through our senses, it takes the name of that particular sense. For instance, when consciousness arises through the eye, it is called eye consciousness. When it arises through the ear, it's called ear consciousness, Sota Vijnana. And therefore they have different names in that sense. But Vijnana, Namarupa, and dependent origination, Vijnana is referred to the consciousness that creates or generates mentality and materiality. Mentality and materiality arises depending on consciousness, and therefore their consciousness is different from the six base consciousness. These are very subtle things. We have to understand through our experience. Your question is whether it is okay.
If it's the same.
It is the same in sankhara, is the food for vijnana. Yes, sankhara pacca vijnana. Depending on sankhara, consciousness arises, and in that sentence, sankhara means activities. They can be bodily or mental activities. I put it in a very simple way. The activities means movement. Anything that starts moving, consciousness arises. If nothing moves, consciousness does not arise. So here, sankhara, we can boil down to tiny, little, minute movement, function. And as soon as that happens, consciousness arises. So their consciousness is very delicate moment and arising momentarily and passing away, just like activity. Activity arises, any activity. At that very moment, consciousness arises. Therefore, consciousness cannot exist by itself. In that sense, it is different from eye consciousness, ear consciousness, and so forth. We have discussed this in some detail when we talk about dependent origination. We will go through this once again when this session is over and when we go perhaps back again to dependent origination. We are writing this dependent origination teaching in a very simple English for people to understand. It takes some time. It is in the process of editing and rewriting and so forth. Okay, next question.
All right, dear Bhante, are there any advice on how to deal with bodily pain due to sickness like cancer? How to keep the positive mindset on facing every challenge in life? Thank you, Bhante.
Any advice on how to deal with bodily pain due to sickness, I see, like cancer? Well, I mentioned it one day, or several days, I think several times, that if there is a very excruciating pain especially due to cancer, when one very highly advanced in meditation, that person would be able to deal with even that kind of very excruciating pain. But ordinarily, it will not be very easy. Still, I want to encourage people to bring the mind to the breath. It is in the present moment, and keep paying total, undivided attention to the breath. Of course, when the pain is there, it is difficult. Now, the pain that arises due to cancer is not arising only one particular moment. It may be there always, all the time, and therefore the person might be able to focus the mind on the breath and relate it to the feeling of pain. The breath is so comforting, soothing, peaceful, naturally rising and falling. If your concentration gains good, concentration becomes good, then that concentration you can, with that concentration you might be able to overcome that pain. And sometimes when you listen to Dhamma and deeply focus on Dhamma and get very clear, deep understanding of Dhamma that you experience, that also might help you to overcome pain, very excruciating pain. Other pains, like when you don't have that kind of pain due to cancer, like when you sit you have pain here and there, then you can make adjustment to the postures. But the cancer pain may be perpetual, going on and on and on. Then use the breath to minimize the pain. So I would suggest that for people who have, unfortunately, if they have the cancer. Okay. Next question.
All right. I have been meditating for decades, and it has been most beneficial when I do it daily. Yet in all that time, I do not feel I have attained any jhanas. This makes me wonder if my practice is inadequate in some way. On the other hand, my happiness and equilibrium have improved greatly now that I am meditating every day.
I think you don't worry about jhana. That also will happen naturally. So long as you have happiness, you stay with that happiness, focus your mind on your breath, and you will see you gain jhana. When you gain jhana, don't expect to be like a vegetable. Don't expect to be like a rock, without feeling, without anything. It will not happen. When you gain jhana, all this, your happiness and your awareness, your mindfulness of rising and falling becomes very sharp and very clear, and you experience deep vibration in your entire body. That is your concentration. Mind will not go here and there from your deepest awareness of rising and falling. That is what happens when you have a deep, real jhana. First, second, third, fourth, any jhana you attain, in that jhana, I mentioned many times, jhana we talk about is right jhana. Right jhana is the jhana with mindfulness. Mindfulness is always watching, seeing, experiencing, rising and falling. So, mindfulness is the seventh factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. 7. Concentration or jhana is the 8th, number 8. So, when you have number 8, you pass number 7 with the impact, with the power of number 7. Number 7 is mindfulness, which definitely is seeing things rising, falling, rising, falling, rising, falling. It becomes sharper and deeper and clearer as you continue it, and then you gain concentration on that rising and falling, and that is your jhana. So don't worry about any jhana without seeing rising and falling in right jhana, right concentration. So you are practicing meditation for long, and you now have happiness. You certainly might have seen rising and falling, and stay with that. Stay with that rising and falling. Don't talk or don't use words, this is rising, this is falling, this is happiness, this is not, this is unhappiness, and so forth. Don't use those words. Just be 100% aware of this minutest, subtlest rising and falling. That is your jhanic concentration, jhanic experience. Okay, next question.
All right. Dear Bhante Ji, some meditation instructors instruct to focus on the breath around nostrils or mouth. Some others instruct to observe the rise and fall of the abdomen. Here we observe the rise and fall of feeling, perception, thought, and consciousness. Please provide me some insight and guidance on what we should do. with metta. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, good. In my instructions I gave you earlier, you start focusing mind on the breath. And then you experience rising and falling of your abdomen. And so you can see both. Some people, you said, asking you to focus the mind on the nostrils. It's okay, perfectly all right. But the mind doesn't stay always on the breath. Mind begins to notice something other than the breath. That something is rising and falling your chest, rising and falling of your abdomen. So all these instructions that you have heard are given by different people as different parts of meditation, different technique. But I would say I would combine all of them into one. All of them. First you will notice the breath touching your nostrils. You keep paying attention to it. And then you notice the breath reaching your lungs, expanding your chest area. Notice that. Then it goes to you feel the rising and falling of abdomen. Be mindful. These are always happening, and if you keep paying attention to them, slowly and gradually, all of them vanish. All of them vanish. You will feel great feeling of relaxation. And that is how you develop it. Don't stay only on the feeling of breath at the tip of your nose or nostrils or lung area expanding and so forth. These are very good at the beginning, and as they become subtler and subtler and subtler and subtler and finally disappear, what you experience is the rising and falling of your feeling, rising and falling of your perception, rising and falling of your thought, rising and falling of your consciousness, rising and falling of your awareness. They also rise and fall. Not only one. Not only one. Everything rises and falls. Everything rises and falls. You are very dynamically engaged. Your practice is very dynamic practice. You are actively participating in your practice. This is what I call participatory observation. You participate in what is happening. At the same time you become mindful and aware of it and participate. This participation is very dynamic system. Focusing mind only on the breath is not that kind of participatory observation. And therefore we have to be very careful. All these instructions you can take and put into one and see how they all work in your practice. Okay?
All right.
Next question.
Dear Bhante, sometimes there is a general sense of sadness with no identifiable cause. When I contemplate it, it also doesn't bring up any reason. What is recommended practice at such times?
When you have notice sadness, no identifiable
With no identifiable cause.
cause.
So they're sad, but they don't know why.
Yes. That is, you have sort of anxiety or wanting something, you don't know what you want. And therefore, you learn to let go of your that kind of needy thought and try to forget it by focusing the mind, as I mentioned, on rising and falling of anything. This general sadness, of course you cannot see the cause. Any sadness arises from desire, greed, needing, wanting something. And this is very clearly, Buddha mentioned, Tannaya jayati soko, tannaya jayati bhayang. Tanna means craving. Soka means anxiety or sadness or disappointment, suffering and so forth. All these terms are used for, all these terms are the meaning of soka. Soka, Pali word, has many English meanings. All of them come from the desire, craving. So there definitely is some desire in you which you cannot put your finger on. And therefore, just learn to relax and relax and relax by focusing first on your breath. As I mentioned, keep focusing on the breath, rising and falling and rising and falling. Then you will notice that inner sadness will vanish one day. Then you will be very happy. Don't dwell upon that sadness. The cause of sadness definitely is one or two or both. Craving and ignorance. Not knowing the Four Noble Truth is not knowing ignorance, and desire for various things, countless things in our life we desire, and we are not getting them. That also causes suffering, pain. So try to let go of your greedy state of mind especially during meditation. And don't remember all the pleasant things that you had in the past. Don't try to think of the pleasant things in the future. It doesn't mean that you should feel bad things in the present. So don't think of the past of anything. Don't think of the future of anything. Of course, in this material society, material life, people have to plan for the future. If you bring all the planning to meditation, you cannot meditate. Therefore, drop all the future planning completely. Forget them and stay with the present moment, paying attention to the present experience of your breath rising and falling and so on. Okay? I think I have 1 minute. I don't think we have time to answer any question. Now I want to wind it down, and I want to use my regular wishing for all beings, especially those who have lost their loved ones. They miss their loved ones, and they may be grieving. That is, of course, very natural thing, nothing unusual. But when we understand Dhamma, practice meditation, as we see the truth of life, we all will be able to overcome that sorrow, lamentation, and pain. So I want to wish all of them to have that frame of mind to get rid of the sadness. And there are also many people in hospitals taken care of by many very compassionate doctors and nurses and hospital staffs, and may all of them recover from their sickness and return to their normal health. And all those doctors and nurses and hospital staffs dedicating their life, risking their life with compassion and respect and for life, may they continue their marvelous humanitarian wonderful service and live long in very good health to render their service in future. And there are many people who have been supporting financially, physically, and spiritually. May they all continue their wonderful service for the world, and may they also live in peace and happiness and stay healthy and continue their wonderful service. And there are some leaders who take very positive steps to help these people in many ways, financially and promoting the vaccination, accelerating the vaccination giving process to reach as many people as needed. May they continue their very far-sighted vision, wisdom to help people. Overall, we want to wish everybody peace, happiness, and liberation from samsara and end suffering. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Keduang saranai bante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Sadhu,
Sadhu,
Bhante.
Sadhu,
Bante.
Okay.
Teruai
Thank you very much.
Saranai.
Everyone, Saranai. Thank you, Bhante.
Bye.